Nick Tandy still second from Jimmy Bruni.
One of my least favourite things about the internet is people taking pictures of their food.
I don't mind people taking pictures of their food. I don't need to see them posting pictures of their food, but there we go. Bicolis still has power, well, electrical power. Oh, Ollie Webb suited and booted. Was this an in-lap? Talking to him in the paysage earlier in the week, and he was saying that they were so desperate to get this car to the finish, but there's 11 hours to go, and it looks as though it may be a little bit terminal. But we've just seen the ARC Bratislava car come back after 40 minutes after we'd written it off.
Absolutely. Say the Willow in 32 car, still in the garage.
Oh, yes. Now, didn't see what ailed that car. It wasn't buried under a sea of United Autosport livery damps, was it? It sort of slightly looked as though nobody really loved it very much, which is always a shame in a car. Kevin Estra in 2 minutes. No, he's already behind Felipe Fraga in Keating Motorsport. So the GTE AM leader is now ahead of what was the GTE Pro leader 10 minutes ago. They're under the car. The wing has gone back on, which is a bonus, but they're still under the car. Floor has to come off, then they change the exhaust, which naturally isn't cold, and nothing else up there above the floor is cold. It's all at hundreds of degrees Celsius. So they've got to take the old exhaust off, put the old exhaust on. Now, in the olden days, when the engine hung out the back, the exhaust hung out the backer, but now it's in the middle, so you've got a transmission, drivetrain, drive shafts and all the other stuff between the mechanics and the exhaust.
Indeed. No.
Still yellows at Marshall's Post 27, where the Bicollers has come to a grinding halt for the moment at least. Nick Tandy and Jimmy Bruni continue their battle. That has not come to a grinding halt. 4:02 Central European summertime. 3:47 AM though is the problem time for the 92 car. That's when it came into the pits, and it is about to drop further down the GT order. It's already been subsumed by the GTE AM class leader, and soon second and third in GTE AM, who are close together, and fourth will go by him. Now, in the end, for the 92 team, it doesn't matter how many AM cars slow zone. It has finally been instigated for the recovery of the number 4 Bicollers car. That had to come in the end, and I'm sure Marshall... Oh, suddenly we've had a slew of official abandon. So as we got to the 13 hours down mark, suddenly SMP Racing's number 17 is officially out. Marker of doom, Graham, do we think? I think so. Well, since we've laminated our spotters guide, so it's going to have to be the indelible Sharpie. It could be wiped clean later. Well, yes, for ARB Bratislava, that's for sure. Okay, so let's go through it from the back to the front.
So the the number 10 Dragon Speed is gone.
Yeah, number 10 Dragon Speed has been officially retired.
That car retired out on circuit with what looked like a repeat of engine or gearbox trouble. The number 88 Dempsey Proton racing car was withdrawn. The number 64 Corvette, we saw that dramatic incident involving the 88, for which Marcel Fazler has been judged at fault. The 98 Aston Martin had a very troubled day and finally, I'm afraid, expired at Tonnage, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yep.
The 95 Aston Martin has gone. Marcus Sorensen with a violent off at Indianapolis.
That was a big crash that wrecked that car.
71 AF Corsa Ferrari, Miguel Molina plodding into the pits, losing fluid to the car, retired on the spot.
Yeah.
And then a further violent off, this time for the 17 S&P Racing BR1. Igor Rudjev, exit of Porsche curves. Substantial clonk into the barrier, and that car abandonné. That is
13 of 24 hours, and we have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars, and potentially soon to be an 8th with Baicoles, but we will hold our water on that one because we thought we wouldn't see the ARC Bratislava car again, but they made it back to the garage, where they still remain, by the way. But they were working very hard on fixing the car.
Coming on for 20 minutes now in the pits for the number 92 car.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Rear bodywork is going back on, so I think they're going to be back out any time now. But this is going to be desperate times. We'll have to keep an eye on what this is going to mean for the World Championship.
Well, critically, it's not the rear bodywork, it's when the mechanics come out from underneath and the floor's back on, that's when the exhaust has been fitted. There may have been other issues that they needed to attend to as well, but they are a long way down and out of the hunt. And Jimmy Bruni in the 91 car, the second of the two Porsches in this battle that we're looking at, that's the car.
Yeah.
If anybody can, that's the only car that can take the championship away from the crew of 92.
Yep, and under tow the Baicoles, yep. So it looks like that the day may be done for them. We'll keep an eye on that.
Well, they are being dragged to a place of safety, but they may well end up being pushed back behind the barrier, and that may be the end of the race.
91 is coming off the hijacks.
Yes.
92 rather is coming off the hijacks. Kevin Estre, I don't think has got out of that car.
No. So he clearly didn't need a wee.
Onto the dollies. Or if he did, there's trouble ahead for the rest of the drivers in that car.
Oh, please don't. 92 is now down to 40th place behind the top 4 in GTE AM.
This was the leading car, remember, for a long time. Still has the single light on the side of the car. It won't be there for much longer.
No.
Kevin Estre. Keep focus, Kevin. Off the jacks. Fires up, gone.
Sounds as good as ever. Car guys are in, further up the pit lane. In the GTE AM class, the number 57 car, 8th in category, still motoring along nicely.
21 minutes on pit lane for the number 92 car.
Writing that down.
So it's all about focus now for Kevin Estre. Just keep your cool and just address the task in hand.
Well, we talked a little bit about when they caught a break last year a couple of times with safety cars that gave them an unassailable advantage. They did the same again this time. They and the AF Corsa car broke free from the field. And now AF Corsa is in a single car breakaway because unfortunately the 92 Porsche has dropped way down the order. It's 12th in class, a long, long way back. But some very hot and sweaty mechanics after working under that ferociously hot engine bay have changed the exhaust. Of course, it's something like all these things that they will have practiced, but they will not necessarily in the workshop have done it on a car that's been running for 12 hours. Here's the battle for second. See, now, when you've got identical cars from the same manufacturer, the moment you release it, they both go at the same time, don't they?
Reality, by the way, of the World Championship is whatever happens at this point, the other car's got to win. They have to win. There is no other alternative, as prototype going straight on at second chicane. That is the 22 car. That is Felipe Albuquerque.
Oh, well spotted. I was thinking it was a 50 Labra car, but way hot dog.
Whoops, Apocalypse, and through threading the neatly goes to rejoin.
Now, that 22 car is in 12th place overall, 7th in LMP2. So they'll be going top 6 in LMP2, top 10 overall. That's the ambition.
outside, I can smell burning. I think they might have something underneath the front of the car, stuck underneath the front, like a bollard. Okay, copy. You think we might be trapped under the floor? Yeah, we do. Okay, so you're going to grind yourself away, or yeah, try shaking it out.
That's Andy Brio saying he can smell something burning under the car.
I wonder how a bollard got under there, Andy.
There's a thought.
Oh, there's Ollie Webb, sitting desperately hoping that he's going to see the number 4 by Colles car again. I'm afraid I'm not sure that's going to be the case. It was under tow. Nick Tandy being chased by Jimmy Bruni. Jimmy won't have the headlights on full because they are, after all, team mates. At least they're both salaried by Porsche, both paid by Porsche. So that's just a little underhand. Not even bothering to flash them. He knows that Tandy knows that he's there. And right now, actually, Jimmy Bruni, as before, is undoubtedly sitting behind Nick Tandy, having a bit of a draft along fuel save, isn't he? Because this is great news for him. Tandy's doing the donkey work, and he's sitting behind. He can sit right there, stay with Tandy, keep the pressure on, make him keep looking in the mirror, and still shift a fraction early, lift a fraction early, accelerate a fraction later, and still be right there. That little feather-footed fuel saving, even if Nick Tandy is trying to do the same, Tandy's still towing the pair of them along. And actually, the two of them together are still not lapping as quickly as Alessandro Pierguidi. Yeah,
they're falling back. They're falling back 5 or 6 seconds. A minute and 45 seconds, I think we said. They're going to be going back to full green, by the way.
Yep.
Now.
Yep. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second.
There you go.
Now.
And they're actually in that zone right now. That again, not a great sign that we're likely to see the bicolors back.
No. Well, it's been towed to a place of safety. Whether it can then get fixed and return remains to be seen. ARC Bratislava's number 49 LMP2 car that spent 40 minutes trackside with broken steering did finally make it back to the garage. Hasn't made it back out yet. And from our vantage point, I'm afraid we can't see whether the garage door is up or down. Hopefully it's still up. Hopefully they're still working on it.
True, unless they found something absolutely terminal. Yep. They won't care how long it takes to work on that car. They will want to see the checkered flag.
Exactly right. And I'm not sure that they've dropped so far back that they wouldn't make it anyway. Catching a Z or two at Cinetic Alpine, at MTech BMW. Cinetic in second place in the LMP2 class. Where's the Gulf Racing Porsche, actually? There's a very good call, because they were in the top 3 early on when all the Porsches, well, when the top 3 were all Porsches. The Gulf Racing car, Ben Barker, down in 9th in the LMP2. Ooh, pepperoni pizza. At 9th in the LMP2 class, Squirrels. So they had a problem with that car.
Let's have a look and see what we can find out about the number 86.
Don't recall what that was or when that was. Don't remember seeing it off the road. So that would suggest a mechanical stop. Will Owen's car, still in the United Autosports garage, has gone from 8th to 18th in LMP2.
They have had 1 3-minute pit stop. Everything else looks reasonably au fait.
Last time round, the GT Pro leader Alessandro Pierguidi did a 5-minute 5 lap compared to 3:53.2 and 0.3.
He's been off the road, hasn't he?
No, he went all the way through the slow zone and they didn't. It was just being rescinded as they hit it. So I would say that's probably where that minute went.
They've gained a minute on the leader.
Yeah.
Pure, wow. Well, that was
sorry.
good.
No, yes, I do mean a minute, don't I?
Yes, they have.
Yes, it is a minute.
They've gained a minute and 10.
Now that puts them within safety car range.
And it also puts them within striking range.
Yeah, so they're now 39 seconds behind, and there will not be 39 seconds behind any safety car and between any safety car and the next safety car. So suddenly, that lifting of the slow zone, just as the second place battle got to it, has brought them right back into play. And actually, okay, Alessandro Pierguidi, this time at the last split, 38 seconds ahead, not 1 minute and anything. Then, after the battle for second, Antonio Garcia is 20 seconds back, and then 12 seconds back to Sebastian Bourdais from him. Actually, the Fords might all lose out were there a safety car now, because I think they'd be picked up by a second safety car. But the top four, Ferrari, 2 Porsches and a Corvette, would get clean away. But
it's those gaps you can work with. We're close enough now with that gaggle of traffic that they can see what we can see, as we said before. Alternator, by the way, for the number 32 United Autosports car, which has dropped right down to the back of the LMP2 pack from being mid-pack for much of the running. Felipe Albuquerque in the number 22 car, 7th, attacking that gap. He's just on his just completed his outlap from his latest pit stop. But alternator is the issue. Into the pits comes the number 51 car.
Okay.
And just check to make sure that is indeed on schedule. I think it is.
That's Alessandro Pierguidi in the AF Corsa Ferrari, the only AF Corsa Ferrari remaining in the Pro class.
Bang on time for him.
We don't expect anything else, do we?
No, we don't. Nick Tandy, probably another 2 laps.
Well, there he is, brake change for the Ferrari as well.
Jimmy Bruni, though, I think is due in next lap.
Look how quickly those discs and pads are coming off. In fact, it's pads only, it's not discs. They've got the pad spreaders, those big levers. I mean, we saw those in Group C days, didn't we, when Porsche were changing brake pads, Jaguar were changing brake pads. So you've got the pad spreaders on the rear. This is not going to be a quick stop.
No, it's
This
not.
could really change the balance of power. We've been talking for basically the last 12 hours about how getting the brake with the safety car let the leader escape. The 92 car and the Ferrari went with him. And now suddenly it's all turned on its head, and Porsche are 1-2, Corvette is 3rd, and the Ferrari has dropped to 4th already. That's how close behind the battle was.
And it's going to be very close with the Fords closing in. Bourdais and Briscoe are going to be right with the Ferrari.
This battle was for 3rd and 4th, then it was for 2nd and 3rd. It's now 1st and 2nd.
Absolutely right.
Nick Tandy, Le Mans winner, leads in the GT Pro class. Bourdais is out of the 68 Ford. And who is on board the Ford?
Just looking on rotation who that should be. It should be Dirk Müller.
Can't see. Dirk Müller's had a good career, hasn't he, as a sports car racer? Porsche factory driver at the beginning of the noughties. BMW factory driver, after the Porsche, and now a Ford factory driver. He's raced Ferraris and all sorts as well. Bourdais out after a double stint for the Le Mans native.
Astonishingly, 43 years old now, Dirk Müller.
I remember when he was young, Dirk, but then I remember when I was the boy Haven as well. 62, that's the WeatherTech Ferrari, and that car in 6th position now. Rob Smith at the wheel of that car in the GTE Am class, and they've been in the top 3 as well. GTE Am is as close in its own right, actually, as the GTE Pro class, and he almost got turned around there by the race leader, Nick Tandy, who made contact with the back of the 62, and that is the TF Sport Aston having a run on him. And that's the, in fact, TF Sport Aston is in 2nd place, isn't he, in the GTE Am class? So about to put a lap on the WeatherTech Ferrari. Sebastian Bourdais heads off to try and cool down a little bit.
Can't be a lap on him. I can't work out exactly. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong car.
Can be.
In fact, it was absolutely right. It's 2 laps.
Is he put? Yeah, I was going to say, is he now putting a 2nd lap on it? I think he was, wasn't he?
It was indeed.
Yeah.
second lap up then. Charlie Eastwood piling on the pressure as best he possibly can.
Well, he's lapping quicker than Felipe Fraga in the Keating Motorsports car that leads in GTE-AM.
It's a 2-minute gap still.
Last time round for Charlie Eastwood, 3 minutes 54.999 and 3 minutes 55.230. So quarter second Eastwood gained on Felipe Fraga. But as you say, it is a 2-minute gap, and that needs a safety car undoing turn of fate.
The 3 and the 11, Rebellion Racing and S&P Racing.
Oh, 93-91, yes, they're in together. These are the leaders in the GTE Pro class.
Not hanging around either of them. Spirited entry into the pits, I think we can call that.
You don't get to be the leader by hanging around. That puts the 63 Corvette into the lead. Alessandro Pierre Guidi fresh out of the pit lane. Is he a lap down? Not. No, because of course he was 2/3 of a lap up, and also these guys will stop. So where does that cycle him back up to?
TF Sport, by the way, in as well. Of course, will cycle back to second. Corvette will take the lead here and does immediately. Antonio Garcia moves through. 63 Corvettes to the lead.
But the big leads that have been the case in the GTE Pro class in part one of the race, as we are now an hour and a half into part two, no longer exist. Oh, hello. Now the 91 car leaves, but the 93 car gained in the pit road. They did not come in that far apart.
They didn't. Garcia, by the way, got another 2 or 3 laps until we're expecting the Corvette down pit road. 93 leaves 3 seconds for good.
Faster, yeah.
So
now we didn't closely scrutinise those 2 stops. Was there a brake change in one of them and maybe not the other? That might have been just enough to overrun the fuel by a couple of seconds.
Andy Prio, meanwhile, leapfrogs up the order. Prio, when are we due to see Andy in with the 67 car? We'll check that one as well.
Well, it says that that car has had 13 stops, as the others have, but of course it's had an extra stop because they had to serve a penalty for a pit lane infringement. So
again, 3 more laps for the 67 car.
And again, Alessandro Pierre Guidi, make a mental note now, Graham, which we'll immediately forget in a fit of excitement, that they've done 1 more lap than the others because they had an unexpected stop as well.
So 51, let's have a quick look at where they were with their strategy.
Ollie Jarvis, by the way, for Risi Competizione, now in the top 10 in the GTE Pro class. That car qualified slowest of all the GTE Pro cars. And in fact, it was slower than the top 3 or 4 in the GTE-AM class as well. And their crew chief was saying that they had so little grip in qualifying, and they were utterly perplexed because they said the grip is so bad and the Michelin tyres we know are so good, we can't figure out what's going on. In the end, they suspected that the tyre oven thermometers or temperature regulators weren't working properly, and they were over cooking the tyres. ARC Bratislava back out of the garage and ready to rejoin.
Excellent stuff.
So the 31 car goes out after a routine stop, and Davidson stays in the 4th place Dragon Speed car. But hooray and huzzah for ARC Bratislava. And the car about to go back out, polishing everything in sight at United Autosports. Alex Brundle has taken the 32 car back out, as in comes number 8. Thomas Laurent is in the pits as well. Oh, and a door now. How many more bits are going to go wrong on this car?
Oh dear, this is not going well for Fernando Alonso. Thomas Laurent into the pits. That seems like a very short stint to me. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but let's have a quick look. I've got a feeling they've been in remarkably recently, but I'm wrong. That was absolutely bang on time.
I was going to say...
It's this time of night they can play tricks with you.
I was going to say it was about a minute 15 pit stop. Oh, hang on, it was a 45-second pit stop. That's very much shorter than expected. Why would that be? Fernando Alonso was stationary for a minute and a half. SMP's last pit stop for Mikel Alishin's car was a minute 16. Last stop for Rebellion #1 was a minute 16. Thomas Laurent, it's a little early for a splash and dash with 10.5 hours left to go. How come they were in, what, 20 seconds less than anybody else can manage?
Just trying to keep a look and see what's going on with this, because I have a feeling we've just had a gap in our data.
Well, that was a silly short stop, 45 seconds. If that's correct, I don't know what happened there. It did have fuel, didn't it? She must have had fuel. You never bring a car into the pits without giving it fuel. But that's not, you can't get a full tank in that time. So what was happening there? Oh, very odd. ARC Bratislava's car has not yet left the pits. Corvette lead in the GTE Pro class. We've said that a few times, but not for a while. Ferrari in second. Let's hear from the 8 Toyota.
Okay, Fernando, let's see if the aero balance that we saw was due to the door, but we would have spotted it in the previous pit stop. Let's see. Copy.
All right, so all the way through practice and qualifying, this car has struggled with balance. Fernando talked about it before the race. Fernando's talked about it during the race, and they've been chasing the balance on this car from the very beginning. So they're 13.5 hours, and they still have not figured out what's wrong with this car. And the number 8 car is now not the leader. It is 2 minutes behind the leader.
Right, the answer, by the way, on the number 3 car is it was a single lap. I didn't think I was wrong there, but right. I couldn't quite see it on the data. It is a single lap, and then it was 1 minute and 16 seconds, followed by 45 seconds. Fuel and tyres, yes. It says. Can't really believe that.
Can you do tyres in 45 seconds? No. So it could have done a tyre.
It could have done a tyre.
Seconds. And
they'd have topped it with fuel.
Yeah.
So he's got a puncture, hasn't he?
Or a low pressure warning light. Or a massive vibration. If they had just stopped for fuel and tyres, although Thomas Laurent stayed in, so tyres are an unlikely option, I think on the outlap, they got a warning light.
I think you're right. I think it's exactly what it is, and it's one of the Jackie Chan DC Racing cars. It's the Ricky Taylor car, 37. Another car, remember, in championship contention, and that is going to do untold damage to their prospects.
Now, Ricky Taylor's no longer in the car. That was not his helmet we saw through the door, because it didn't have a whopping great Dayglow R on it.
To see exactly who should be in on rotation there.
It is that's Jordan King's helmet in the car, so Jordan King is waiting to go out. Battle for 8th place, Stefan Mucker, Mathieu Jaminet. This is the group that is adrift of the top 6. Stefan Mucker in the 66 car, Mathieu Jaminet in the 94 American run Porsche.
Out of our window, we could hear the Corvette coming in from the lead, Antonio Garcia. That will put Alessandro Pierguidi back into the lead for the moment. Nick Tandy, 33 seconds back, with Jimmy Bruni now a further 3.5 seconds back. So Tandy has retained that advantage gained in the pits. Andy Prio 12 seconds further back than that.
Look how clean the black and white Ford was before the start of the race. And look how filthy the Corvette is. We've still got another 10.5 hours of accumulated grime, hopefully, to add to that.
Leader is in the pits as well.
Yes, he is. Kamui Kobayashi makes his 19th stop. Last stop for Fernando Alonso, 1:31. Last stop for Kamui Kobayashi before this one, 1:05. Expect Kamui's stop to be around the 1:05, 1:06 mark.
Nose change, or at least nose being taken off for attention.
Oh, hello.
The 7 car. So
what they're going underneath the car for? They're having a look with a torch at the underfloor. Are they chasing the aero balance on both cars?
Maybe.
And if they are, is it because they've been rubbing their bellies on the ground? And if they have, it's not an aero issue.
Where is Fernando Alonso's car? The answer is...
Here's Kobayashi heading out of the pit lane. Already down and rolling. And you know, they had a 2-minute advantage, Graham, and his pit stop is shown as 1:05 again, well, just like the previous was.
Alonso is coming through on Arge.
And Alonso lost 26 seconds in that pit stop, so the gap will go from 2 to 2.5 minutes.
It is, it's a significant loss.
And if you're slower on the track and you're losing time in the pit lane, it seems to me unlikely that you're going to be able to undo the damage that's being done by the other car. Of course, in the long term and in the long run, much as they would love to win Le Mans, the number 8 car crew did win Le Mans last year, and if they win the World Championship in the same season, the fact that they didn't win Le Mans twice.
Yep.
But again, you know, 10.5 hours away, they could still easily win it twice. They could still easily not finish. I mean, you know, anything. However, think of the history.
Oh, good grief,
Think of the history, not just for Toyota Gazoo Racing and that trio of drivers, but particularly for Fernando Alonso. 1 year in World Endurance. Imagine 1 year in World Endurance, world champion and double Le Mans winner, could never be done again.
Oh, absolutely. Those are the kinds of things that drivers of the quality, if you like, of Fernando Alonso probably crave at this point in his career.
Yeah.
What can I do that's utterly unique? Why, otherwise, would you have gone for the Indy 500 adventure?
Of course, he spent several years going, why can't I overtake anything?
Yeah.
And the answer was, you're in the wrong car. Now he's in the right car. So, you know, a career choice, a jump ship that actually worked very positively for him. And
so it's 1:06 across the line.
Okay.
That would be right, because it wouldn't be 2.5, would it? It would be that less than pit stop.
Yeah. Well, no, because it was 2 minutes before, and then they were 30 seconds slower. It was 2 minutes before the pit stops, but interesting. Just saw a little flash, by the way, of the black and yellow number 38 Jackie Chan DC Racing car. Ho Pin Tung in third in LMP2. Andre Negrão second in Senior Tech Alpine. And Jean-Eric Verne back at the wheel of G-Drive that leads.
Fox, Stefan, Fox, take them first, please. Okay, Fox, going to be full service, full service.
Okie dokie. I wonder if they've had a little issue over him not responding to messages, whether they think he might have had a radio issue. Confirm, please. You don't often hear that.
You don't. I think it will be 2.5 minutes. I know it's not. It's 1:07 is the gap. I'm trying to work out how that works as well.
However, in the pits is the 66 Ford. And Stefan Mucker, he was battling with Mathieu Jaminet, wasn't he? So Jaminet now goes up into 8th place in the Porsche, but owes his rival a pit stop.
Pierre Greedy, by the way, pulling away again from Nick Tandy. Fresh brakes, of course, on the Ferrari. The gloriously filthy, battered.
Reminds me of the gold-coloured car that won Daytona, covered in gaffer tape with one of the wings held on, the original GT40. Here's our LMP2 leader. Jeff stays in, Jean-Eric Verne.
And that gap still 1:46. Look at the state of the front of that Ford.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Can't be doing them any favours in terms of aerodynamics with that big hole where there should be a fairing. I wonder how long it takes to change the clip-on body at the front. You would think it might be time to do that. Comes out behind the G-Drive car, away they go.
And with the latest pit stop for the 38 Jackie Chan DC racing car, and Davidson moves up into third position again.
Stefan Richelme has taken over from Ho Pintung as we ride on board with Andre Negrão in the 36 Cinetec Alpine car. I'm quite glad to be watching that from a TV screen. I'm not sure I'm actually that keen to be in the passenger seat in the car of that prodigious ability in the Porsche curves. Into the pit lane comes 36. As he was due to, G-Drive and Cinetec have been stopping on the same lap, and they are stopping on the same lap. It's just a couple of minutes later because that's the gap between them. Still a few little spots of water in the air.
It's just running down through the order in this LMP2 class. It's been a bit topsy-turvy. There have been some players who've been solidly there in the mix, including the 36 car. But it's led at the moment by G-Drive Racing. John-Eric Verne has just made the latest pit stop for the Aura 01 on Dunlop tyres. Minute and 46 seconds before this stop was the gap for between G-Drive and Cinetec Alpine in the hands of Andre Negrão as he came in. Nico Lapierre has changed, has climbed aboard the car. He's still in search of a fourth LMP2 title to complete, or to continue rather, his 100% record in the class here. Dragon Speed 31 car with Ant Davidson is a further 45 seconds back from Negrão before that pit stop. Stefan Richelme now aboard the number 38 Jackie Chan DC racing car. He's another man on his outlap, 5 seconds back from Davidson. Then TDS Racing, another ex-world champion. Well, you're always still a world champion, but Loic Duval in the 28 car. Another car that will take its bow from the WEC after this. Touching scenes there.
Bit of brotherly love. Now, the top 4 cars, G-Drive, Cinetec, Dragon Speed and Jackie Chan, have all led the race. TDS has not.
No, they did early on, I think.
Oh, did they?
I think they did very early on.
I might have been having a cup of tea at that stage.
Well, remember, they must have led it because they started
on pole. Indeed. All right, so top 5 have led. TDS only briefly. United in 6th place have not with the 22 car, but have crept up the order now in the top 6. IDEX Sport in 7th. Duquesne stopping with Romain Dumas taking over the number 30 car in 8th. Ahead of Panis Barthez, Will Stevens, he's in 9th. And Graf Racing's number 39 car, the car that could have, should have, would have started on pole position. Tristan Gombody set the fastest lap in qualifying in that car, but then his teammate subsequently failed to stop for a weighbridge, and so all the times before that were scratched, and they never quite got back to matching that pace.
It's 4:38 in the morning here in France at Le Mans, the Circuit de la Sarthe. And with 10 hours and 22 minutes still remaining of the 87th running of the greatest endurance race in the world. Through goes Felipe Albuquerque with the RLR M Sports 43 Oreca tucked in behind the United Autosports cars, a lap or 2 down. And that is Norman Nato. Through goes the Rebellion. Neil Janney aboard the number 1 car, the more delayed of the 2 Rebellion runners. No explanation as to why a second stop was required, but I tend to like your explanation, potential explanation, maybe a tyre pressure alarm.
Hard to imagine what else it might have been. Yeah. It's not, oh, I need a wee, you should have gone before you got in the stint.
No.
It didn't need fuel.
But the fuel did anyway.
Well, yes, but only, because it was there. It didn't come in. No, it didn't come in to be topped up. Even if they knew it had short fuel, they wouldn't have come in to top up immediately. No, they would have just
100% not
gone to. No, you see that. Maybe they would have. What would you have done if you'd short fueled? If you knew you'd missed a few litres, would you be absolutely 100% cast iron certain how far it would now go? Or would you just bring it in, top it up, and then know that you've got another 12 laps in it?
Well, 45 seconds isn't long enough to put the fuel in.
It's long enough to put 5 seconds of fuel in, that's a lap. That's enough to top it up. You know, if it was only a little short, I don't know. In the end, you know, you have to go to the team. Luckily, we got Duncan Vincent heading down into the pit lane, so you amuse yourself while Alan McNish puts the kettle on, and I will have a quick word with Duncan off air.
Well, it's new team starting to come on board for the broadcast this morning. Alan McNish, world champion, 3 times winner of this great race, will be on the mic as soon as he's got the kettle on. And a good moment to kind of round up what's been going on overnight. The gaggle of confirmed retirements being amongst them.
Pretty much nothing's happened since Alan left us.
Absolutely.
It's all been fairly quiet.
Not allowed to, I don't think,
yeah,
but it's not here.
Both Toyotas are still running. None of the Porsches have hit trouble. The top 6 in LMP2 didn't all crash in a big one-off. He's pointed to Igor Rodchev, the least interesting of all the things that's happened, although one of the highest speed accidents that we've seen.
Massive off into at the end of the Porsche curve, so eliminating the S&P racing car from the top 3.
Well, I tell you what we do, since he's shown up late for his shift, we'll let him make the tee, we'll let him settle down.
And then we'll run through.
And as we get to the 10-hour mark, just before I clear off to have a much-deserved wee, we will run through all the dramas that he's made. He's already left.
He's just got to fill up the kettle, that's all.
What's wrong with the water that's on the floor by his little feet? Nothing much.
No.
I think he might have gone to end. Well, I hope he's not filling up the kettle in the dark, because that won't be with water. Nick Tandy in 2nd place, and Jimmy Bruni in 3rd.
They're closing again.
I wonder how few laps. See, this is things that people look at afterwards. Somebody will look at this battle and say, there were only 12 laps in the entire race where they weren't within sight of each other, or where there were only 12 laps where they're actually separated by a fellow competitor in between them or something, because every time we've looked at them, they've been right together. This battle has just been going on since the start of the race. Just look at it.
Battle or working together?
Well, both, actually, because... I'll give you that. Jimmy Bruni is not constantly looking at trying to get by Nick Tandy. What he's constantly doing is staying with Nick Tandy and saving fuel. However, the two cars together, particularly when they're at high speed down the straights, are travelling faster in terms of speed than the Ferrari in front. In terms of lap time, they're not going round the entire circuit quicker. The Ferrari last time round, 3 minutes 53.3. 3 minutes 54.7 and 0.5 for the two Porsches. So the Ferrari is still lapping quicker on its own than the two Porsches are, quote, working together or running together in close company.
With new brakes.
On both? On the Ferrari. Yeah, the Ferrari, again... Oh, Dempsey Proton's only car remaining is having a full rebuild. It's having a new floor put on.
Now, remember, this is another car in title contention, albeit distantly.
That air duct, is that a new one or an original one being put back in to go with the new floor?
That's a replacement floor.
No, but there's an air duct surround at the front there as well that's going on, and I wonder if that came off the car, was separated from the old floor, or whether the car's been off in the gravel somewhere and it's torn the entire front ducting off. Dempsey Proton, Matt Campbell has brought the car in. It's in 7th place.
It's not been their day, has it, so far?
No, because that's dropped behind Clearwater's Ferrari, and it's now dropped behind the Car Guy Racing Ferrari as well. And it's now dropped behind the Gulf Racing Porsche. And in another 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it'll drop behind the Proton number 78 car.
Well, let's take this moment to just pop through maybe class by class as 77 cars brought back onto pit lane, brand new front end.
Yeah, new nose. It's been off, hasn't it?
I think so.
Now, we didn't see where, so therefore, I'm casting nasturtiums. I can't guarantee, but that has all the hallmarks.
Well, let's just keep a look on here. It leaves the pit lane in just a few seconds.
This is car. Yeah, second place in the GTE AM class for TF Sport. And Ewan Hankey's taken that car over recently from Charlie Eastwood.
The 77 car gets to the end of pit lane in a moment, does so now. It's 3 minutes 35 seconds on pit road.
Okay, that's not bad for a front end. That's not bad at all, but it's cost it 4 or 5 places. That's a lap, basically, that it lost in the pits. 38 Jackie Chan DC racing car cuts through traffic. That's still in 4th place.
So overnight in LMP1, the dramas have been thus. Most recently, the Bicolors racing car stops on the exit of Arnage, has been towed to a place of safety from which it has not moved. The number 17 S&P racing car in the hands of Igor Ridchev had a mighty off at the exit of the Porsche curves. That car impacted the barrier heavily to the rear of the car and is out of the race. The Dragon Speed car finally gave up the ghost out in the countryside during the middle of the night. The team basically fed up, had enough, gone home, issuing statement to my colleagues at Delhi Sports Car that they regretted deeply the fact that the ACO had not allowed them to run the other car they would have preferred to run at this race, not the BR1. That's what they said. More on that later.
71 Ferrari from AF Corsa retired with a terminal fluid leak, which sounds to me like it wasn't water, but it was probably oil. 95 Aston Martin crashed heavily. Marco Sorensen aboard in Indianapolis. That was out on the spot. The 98 Aston Martin was eventually retired. The problem child for AMR became just too much of a problem to continue. Marcel Fassler, huge crash in the Porsche curves. The 64 Corvette is out. 88 Dempsey Proton car was withdrawn when Satoshi Hoshino decided he was no longer feeling safe behind the wheel of the car. And that was probably because when he clipped Marcel Fassler, it scared the bejesus out of him almost as much as it did when Fassler was tagged into the wall. And as Graham reported, the Dragon Speed car eventually just had one more problem than it could possibly deal with. Other issues as well. Bicolors has stopped out on track and doesn't appear to have come back. And that was the case for the ARC Bratislava car. That had an off at Mulsanne corner, recovered, had an off at Indianapolis, was dragged out of the gravel, had an off in the Porsche curves, was dragged out of there, and at Indianapolis and the Porsche curves it had broken steering, and that was the end of that. 40 minutes later, lo and behold, its driver was driving it back into the pit lane where the crew rescued it from. It has been seen out on the pit apron.
It's been out again, actually.
But has it been out, well, and has it done any more laps?
Mira Konopka is listed aboard the car. He must have left the pit.
Its last lap was 1 hour and 14 minutes. It hasn't left the apron.
But how is, in which case, how is it actually logging Mira in the car?
I don't know. Gulf Porsche is in. This car's had its share of woes, but with problems for Dempsey Proton 77 car, it's now up into 8th position. Keating Motorsports Ford still leads GTE AM from the TF Sport Aston Martin. So Jeroen Bleekemolen leads, and they are 2 safety car jumps ahead of the rest of the GTE AM field. They won 1 safety car lottery, then they won a subsequent safety car lottery. So TF Sport have fought their way from 6th, 8th early on up into 2nd place. JMW's Ferrari is currently 3rd. And the rotating wheel of fortune, JMW, Project One's Porsche, WeatherTech's Ferrari, and the Clearwater Racing Ferrari, they've all been in and out of the top 3, depending on the pit stops. Toyota appear to have 2 cars, or had about 2 hours ago, 2 cars that were both smoking constantly around the lap. And it would seem that potentially that was the cars running a little low and rubbing their planks. Fernando Alonso and the team with the number 8 car have changed the fronts, they've changed the rear, they've changed the front again. They're trying everything to get a balance on a car that is losing time on every lap to the sister number 7 car, but which is still in second position overall and in LMP2 is on target to win the World Championship.
Explanation, I think, the RC Bratislava car, that was an out and in from Miro Konopka. He's been back in the pits for about 17 minutes, but it was an hour 14 minutes.
An hour and 8 was their last pit stop. Yeah.
Plus the lap he's done.
Yeah.
So he's come back in. The car is back in the pit garage, but that's where the heroics have been going on. It's not spectacular for anything other than human endeavour, but certainly great to see that. We saw tears in that pit garage. We saw angst in that pit garage. We saw Fernando Alonso not being very pleased about being woken up a little earlier than he was potentially using.
Well, now, the other team that has had more than their fair share of woes, and they've already lost 2 of their 3 cars, like Proton Racing at Dempsey Proton, has been Aston Martin Racing. The 98 Aston Martin was the problem child right from the word go. Then the 97 car had heavy damage and came in for a bit of a rebuild. And even as they were putting that car together, the 95 car went off and was out of the race on the spot. So the one remaining Aston Martin run by AMR is down in 51st place of what is potentially a 53 car moving field. And that is the last of the GTE Pro cars that is running. And it's a long, long way back. But it actually seems to be running pretty reasonably now.
Just a quick update from Doug down the pits, talk back to myself, which is gearbox for the 37 car. He's pretty certain that's a car that was in, well, certainly upper midfield contention. Has fallen right back, still on pit lane now, with Ricky Taylor having brought the car in.
Yeah.
We've talked, I take it, while I was doing the rounds about what happened to the 92?
No, I was saving that for later because Alan loves a lovely story. So the 92 Porsche, last year's race winners, they won by getting a break behind a safety car last year away from their teammates and then another one. And that happened here again. They and the AF Corsa Ferrari, the number 51 car, were 2.5 minutes ahead of the rest of the field until the 92 car made an unscheduled, well, it didn't make an unscheduled pit stop, it made a scheduled pit stop, was then pushed back into the garage. As well as a brake change, they had to change the exhaust and it dropped from the lead down into 12th in the GTE Pro class. It's now 38th overall, and it is, how long did it lose in the pits? It lost 20 odd minutes in the pits having the exhaust change, which leaves AF Corsa's Ferrari, it left it a full safety car in front. However, during a subsequent slow zone, the Ferrari went through the slow zone at 80 kilometers an hour, but the 2 closest chasing Porsches, just as they got to the slow zone, it was rescinded, and say they flew through it at the normal speed, and what was about a minute 20 gap came down to 40 seconds. So now, within shooting distance, the Porsches in second and third are chasing the AF Corsa Ferrari, and that's where our huge lead for the 2 cars has vanished without any of them crashing.
Absolutely. The final thing to say is that even though the 92 cars dropped all that way back, it still won't be enough for the 91 car, the 2 drivers of the 91 car, to claim the Drivers' Championship without winning the race.
Down in the pit lane is Duncan Vincent with Bart Hayden at Rebellion.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Bart, first of all, thank you very much. Yeah, the car pitted, went out, then pitted again straight away. What was the deal?
Yeah, we did a full service, so we changed the driver and the tyres. And as the car drove away from the box, the tyre pressure monitoring system updated and told us the front left looked a bit low. We just thought it might have been just a bit colder coming out of the oven than it should have been. Anyway, on the lap, the pressure wasn't building, so we just didn't like the look of it and decided that safe at a box and put a new front left on it, which is what we did.
Apart from that, how's the night gone?
Touchwood okay. It was a bit better than earlier in the day, so keep fingers crossed.
Okay, thank you, buddy. Thank you once again. Have a seat. Here we go.
So, spot on, Mr. Haven. I'm sure Mrs. Haven will confirm. Always right. It's
always good to begin the morning with a laugh.
Who's that calling you on your mobile phone there? James Collado. He's checking with Mrs. Haven to see if she thinks he was right, but it's looking good for the AF Corse of Ferrari. Alessandro Pierguidi, despite the fact that that run through the slow zone didn't go his way, still a healthy lead, holding that lead as well. Alex Brundle, by the way, back in for another pit stop after that long pit stop for the 32 alternator problem for the United Autosports car. Dropped them all the way back down, almost the back of the LMP2 field. So that was, what, a 38-minute stop, I think I'm right in saying. But beyond that, tail of the lead of the race, Fernando Alonso's car dropping back. Aero imbalance, which turned out to be a problem with the door. The right-hand door on the car needing adjustment. And what had been, well, tenths of a second with, well, frankly, what looked like smoke coming from the rear of first one and then the second Toyota, not appearing to have any impact at all on the performance of either car. And Fernando Alonso expressing some frustration with the aero imbalance in that car, talking back as we're getting very close now to 14 hours into this race.
So I've just turned up, and the 90 TS Sport car, the second place overall. Ewan Hankey's in the gravel somewhere. Where's that?
That is 90 is where?
It's all down the Mulsanne Straight. They've got the yellows out.
He's at that is at Mulsanne Corner.
He's just gone straight in, locked up,
and he has got 2 minutes to get that car out before he loses second position. Looking very good indeed for Keating Motorsport at the moment, and he's not going to get that car out there under its own steam, is he?
No, he's not. He's beached. But I was just about to say there was a lot of action happened, but it was quite static and it was overtaking action. Since I went for my beauty sleep, it looks like all the big action has started. You know, there's a few cars that have gone out, there's crashes, there's things going on here now. It looks like it's getting back to a more normal Le Mans.
That must have been a short nap.
Yeah, very short nap. That beauty sleep just hasn't hacked it up. I'm going to go for a very long sleep, just in the hope that something might occur.
I went away for 4 hours, and he ruined our GTE Pro race while I was gone.
Yeah, it's all my fault. They're desperate, Ewan Hankey, but it's not going to work, I'm afraid. It's going to be a slow zone to protect that scene for recovery of the number 90 car.
That is at the end of the long Mulsanne straightaway.
Slow zone is going to be kicking in 1, 2, 2, 1 now.
On board the Jimmy Bruni now, the man that would like to be leading this race if between now and 3 o'clock this afternoon, Bruni and his teammates can get to the front of the field in the GTE Pro category. They will be world champions.
Well, to do that, he's got to go by Nick Tandy, never an easy man to pass.
Ooh.
And also pull back some 40 seconds and a little bit more on his ex-teammates at Ferrari.
And make sure that the Corvette behind him doesn't come alive and pip him. Here's the number 3 Rebellion into the pits. I like a certain time synergy. I went away with 10 hours complete, 14 hours to go. I returned with 14 hours complete, 10 hours to go. That's where we are right now. So we've got the cookie fairy has arrived. Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Thank you, Nelson Valkenburg. Bringing what smells to me like shortbread. When you know you can smell shortbread, you know you're really hungry.
Got real shortbread. That's like, is putting butter on a croissant redundant?